Hello everybody and welcome to my power rankings for the 2019 NALCS season. I'm going to be starting off with the top lane, but I am going to get to every position, as well as in the end I'll do a general team ranking. So my power rankings are a bit different from the normal power rankings where people just state their opinion and then try to just back up why they feel like they're right. Mine are a points-based ranking system where I will rank each position on the various factors that I feel like go into the individual performance of someone trying to play that position. So the factors are, at least for top lane, floor and ceiling, which is how well a player matches up versus the other players at their position, assuming unknowns like meta, growth, and attitude go poorly or well. Obviously, if they go poorly, that's the floor. If they go well, that's the ceiling. I rank them 1 through 10, with 1 being the best and 10 being the worst. Then I combine them into a base score by basically taking 11 and subtracting it by the floor, and then taking 11 and subtracting it by the ceiling, adding those two numbers together and dividing it by 2, and that gives you your base score. That's the same for every position, but then the factors are what changes. And for top lane, I have large factors, which are I give up to a bonus or deduction of 2 points. The style fit, which is how well the player's ideal style in terms of resources or focus fit into the ideal style of their team. And versatility, which is how well the player is able to play various styles of champion and various roles within the team. Now for the medium factors, which have a bonus or deduction up to 1.5 points, I set it as initiation skills, which is how well the player can force advantageous fights, and jungle synergy, which is how well the player can work with their jungle to better their individual performance. It's not necessarily how well they get along or how well they're going to work together, but how well they work with the jungler in a way that betters their individual performance. Finally, with small factor, which is just a plus minus up to 1 point, is their carry ability, which is basically how well the player can lead the team to victory even if the rest of the game is falling apart. So those are the factors. Getting into the rankings now. At number 10, we have Solo from Echo Fox with 2.25 points. I feel like Solo acts as a solid benchmark for an LCS-capable player. He only beats Viper in floor and Darshan in ceiling coming into 2019, which puts him 9th in both, which gives him a base score of 2. Solo's low resource focus style actually suits Echo Fox well. On a team with Rush and Phoenix, Echo Fox could use a more supportive top laner, and that's exactly what Solo provides. So I gave him 1 point for style fit, though I didn't give him any more than that because I don't know how good of a team Echo Fox is actually going to be. Now, for versatility, Solo is primarily a tank player, but he can also play some split pushers like Gangplank or Gnar. I think Echo Fox will be happy to have a tank player, but that's about all they have in Solo, as he's yet to really prove his ability to play a carry role within a team, so I deducted him a 0.5 point for versatility. Now, for initiation skills, I think that actually one of Solo's biggest strengths, especially as a supportive top laner. Initiations are quite important. I don't think he's elite at it, but I think he's pretty good at it, so I gave him a 0.5 point for that. And then moving on to jungle synergy, I felt like he was, as a culturally and stylistically different player than Rush, I felt like Solo probably wouldn't have a lot of synergy coming into 2019, at least not at first. There's no reason it couldn't work out, so perhaps it will, but I decided to deduct a 0.5 point because I think it's more likely it works out negatively than positively. And for carry ability, I felt like Solo is about as far away from a carry player as you're going to see in North America next year. I didn't take away the full marks, as I feel like if Gangplank's meta, or potentially if he develops some other pick he's really good at, there's a chance that he could carry a game, but I deducted the closest amount to that, which is 0.75. And finally, I gave Solo / kind of Echo Fox a 0.5 point bonus, as they have an LCS level sub in Lorelo that should help push Solo and shore up some of the weaknesses that lost Solo some points above, like perhaps carry ability or versatility. So I brought a score to 2.25, which was good for 10th place, but not good enough for 9th place, which is Dhokla with 3 points. Now, Dhokla didn't start off 2018 super well, but he ended it with a fairly solid run that helped Optic almost make the playoffs in summer, where he was really the secondary carry behind Power of Evil. his steadily improving play and relatively consistent performances helped push him into the highest floor of the bottom tier of top laners, which I feel are Dhokla, Solo, Viper, and Darshan, which puts him 7th, and his upward trend also puts his ceiling past Solo and Darshan, so 8th. Now, for style fit, I feel like Optic seems like a team that's thrown together without much care for the styles of the individuals. The team seems to have personality in spades, but a distinct lack of supportive style players, which could definitely hinder Dhokla's success in 2019 if he's forced to take more of a back seat on this team with some bigger names and personalities like Crown or Dardoch. 2019 will be a big test of Dhokla's versatility. While he played a few different roles within Optic team comps last year, he was by far the most successful as a split pusher, abusing his signature Camille to help Power of Evil push Optic to wins. And I feel like if he's pushed beyond that split push style and beyond his Camille power pick, which I assume he will be at some point in time this year, it'll be interesting to see whether he can keep up the same level of performances he had on Optic. So I left his versatility at 0 because I think there's a chance, like we haven't seen enough for me to deduct points, but he definitely hasn't shown enough in his 1 year to garner points. So for initiation skills, Dhokla has never really been an initiator at any point in his career. He mostly plays a split pusher, and it's hard to initiate when you're in a different lane. But as stated above, he definitely can prove me wrong. So I didn't deduct any more than a half a point, but I definitely felt justified in taking away a half a point, as he has not shown himself to be a superb initiator so far. Now, both Meteos and Dardoch have proven to be solid junglers who have played around carry top laners in the past, but neither have the reputation of being the greatest teammate, and Dhokla is far from being the carry that Ssumday or Huni are, which are the top laners that Meteos and Dardoch had last year. And so I felt like I didn't see a lot of promise in the jungle synergy. I don't see it working out super great, but because they're two solid junglers in both Meteos and Dardoch, I think there's a decent chance that they help Dhokla out. I decided to leave it at a net 0, and assuming that it might go up over the course of the year, but that I didn't really feel comfortable giving them a boost any more than just a 0. Now, for carry ability, Dhokla has spent his entire time in the LCS on Optic in 2018, which was a team that had Power of Evil on it, one of the biggest carries in the LCS, so there wasn't really a lot of room to see him solo carry. He definitely had his moments to shine and capitalize on a few of them, but not quite enough to earn Optic a playoff spot last year, and as a result, not really enough to earn any carry points on my list this year. So I gave him a 0, didn't take away any points, didn't give him any points. Finally, though, I did give Dhokla a 0.5 point bonus because he's still relatively new to the LCS, and his skill was on the rise by the end of last year. These 0.5 points should compensate for the points he'll make up when he proves his ability to carry or finds a fit with one of Optic's junglers. So I feel like in the last two categories he has a chance to get some positive points, and so I gave him some there. Gave him a half a point, brings his total up to 3, gets him in 9th place, but not high enough to get 8th place, which is Darshan, at 4.25 points from Counter Logic Gaming. Darshan is a relatively proven commodity and a player who looks to be on the downturn. This might be Darshan's last shot to prove what he's got, and that he's got what it takes to be an LCS level top laner. This trend garnered him the lowest ceiling of any top laner, but his previous successes and hard work ethic pushed him past Solo and Viper and Floor. I feel like he definitely could be a good top laner in LCS next year if things go his way, but I feel like every other top laner has a bit more to offer, assuming that things go their way than Darshan does, and a bit more question marks that, if answered correctly, push them past Darshan, which gives him a base score of 2. Darshan operates best as a medium resource, high focus player, which is exactly the perfect fit for what CLG needs. The only major knock to his stylistic fit with CLG would be his struggles in laning. So I actually gave him 1.5 out of a possible 2 points for style fit, because I feel like he is a pretty good fit on CLG for what it counts for. Over the years, Darshan has played almost every role within a team comp and has usually done pretty decently. He's definitely experienced the most success on bruiser champions like Gnar and Gangplank in the past, particularly last year, though we'll see if that stays the same in 2019. So I didn't give him any points for versatility because we haven't seen a lot recently, but I didn't take any away because he's definitely shown a lot in the past. Moving into his initiation skills, he's never operated the best as a key initiator. He's not awful at it, but it was a large reason that older versions of CLG struggled to start fights when Aphromoo wasn't playing a champion that could properly initiate. That was definitely a problem if you were a fan of CLG in the Aphromoo era. If he was on a champion that wasn't an initiator, the team really struggled with it, and I think Darshan played a major role in that. So I took away a half a point. He's gotten a bit better at it, I feel like, but he's still not great at it. For jungle synergy, I think he should work quite well with Wiggly. They have very complementary styles and have already played together, although it was only one game. If Darshan can express control over the lane and allow Wiggly to come in and do what he wants to, then it could be a very solid top jungle duo moving into next year. So I gave him 1 point, but I couldn't give him more than that. I couldn't give him the full points because it's really hard to know whether he'll be able to exert that control over the top lane. Now, he's definitely carried a few games in the past, and even last year he had a few solid games, including an 11-2-5 Darius game, but the carry performances are few and far between in the post-Zion Spartan era. So I gave him 0.25 out of a possible 1 point, but I didn't feel comfortable giving him any more than that. I didn't really have any extra points to add to deduct, which brought his total to 4.25, good enough for 8th place. And moving into 7th place on the list, we see the up-and-coming top laner from FlyQuest. It's Viper at 4.5 points. He's a hyper-aggressive lane-dominant top laner from the Challenger Series last year. If he fails to gain leads laning versus more skilled opponents, he could struggle. His 0 experience at a Premier level league combined with his hit-or-miss playstyle puts him with the lowest floor of all the tops in North America. That's why his floor is 10. But his ceiling tops that of the more known quantities of Darshan, Dhokla, and Solo. So his 10th floor, 7th ceiling for a base score of 2.5. He's actually the absolutely perfect fit for the current FlyQuest team. His high resource and relatively high focus style will make him the carry that a team with Santorin and Pobelter needs. They could definitely play to their more supportive tendencies and try to get Viper ahead, which is exactly what Viper wants. So I gave him the full 2 points for style fit. Now, however, for versatility, Viper has shown to be a very one-dimensional player so far in his career. He's almost exclusively played high damage carries, and against stiffer competition, he will probably feel even more hesitant to deviate from his comfortable style, which could definitely be a big weakness. So I took away a point, though I didn't take any more than that, because we haven't seen enough of him for me to feel comfortable taking away more than that. Due to his lack of high level competition and no previous experience with Santorin, I didn't really rate his initiation skills or jungle synergy. I imagine he should mess with Santorin's more supportive jungle style, but they may not get a chance to exert themselves versus teams with better tops or jungles, or both, obviously. So I felt like it was the most accurate of me to not add or deduct any points for initiation or jungle skills yet, because it's really hard to know how well Viper's going to perform at a different level with a completely different jungler. And so I think that there's a chance that it works out well, but there's also definitely a chance that it fails, particularly because neither him or Santorin are the most highly touted players moving into next year. However, what he has shown enough of to warrant me giving him points is his carry ability, as he's shown an elite ability to carry at a challenger level, but I don't know whether that will translate into the LCS, so I felt comfortable giving him a half a point, but not really any more than that. Although what I did do was also give him a half-point bonus for the marks he should be able to make up once he proves what he's capable of at an LCS level, particularly in his initiation skills and carry ability, which brought his total to 4.5, brought him into 7th place at the top of the bottom tier of top laners. Moving into the middle tier of top laners, we have at the bottom, number 6, Hauntzer with 7.75 points. As far as I'm concerned, Hauntzer is a benchmark for a solid top laner in North America. Despite a bad 2018, Hauntzer's floor and ceiling both fall slightly above the midway point. He has 4th highest floor, the 5th highest ceiling. Well, the Golden Guardians are all good players. They seem to lack a focus, which could punish Hauntzer. Hauntzer operates best when he gets the resources to carry. I would say he's a medium to high resource, medium focus player, and I'm unsure if he'll be able to get that on a team with no obvious supportive players. So I actually deducted a half point for style fit, although it could work out decently, so I didn't feel comfortable deducting any more than that. For versatility, Hauntzer has shown an ability to succeed on a wide variety of champion styles over the years. However, his optimal style has always been split push champions like Gnar, Gangplank, or Camille. Those are his most signature champions. So I gave him a half point for versatility because he can play a wide range of champions, but I didn't give him any more than that because he's best on a specific split push style champions. Now, TSM fans will be well acquainted to Hauntzer's solid initiation skills, whether it be tanking up the entire enemy team or landing a fight-ending Gnar or Gragas ulti, like the one from Worlds a couple of years ago. Starting the fight with a bang has always been one of Hauntzer's strengths, so I gave him 1 point for that. I didn't give him the full 1.5, because I feel like there's still room for improvement, but he's definitely one of the better initiators in North America. Moving into jungle synergy, I think Contracts and Hauntzer both had great 2017s, but not really very good 2018s, and I don't really see any obvious connection between the two, so I decided to take away a half a point when it comes to jungle synergy. However, I think I could definitely be proven wrong on this one, but I just don't see it as an obvious match. I did not... but however, what I did add points for it was his carry ability, because if there's one thing Haunt's shown over the years, it's that if he can get a lead, he is one of the most proven carry tops in North America, so I decided to give him not the full points, because he struggles to get a lead, but next best thing, which is a 0.75 out of a possible 1 point for his carry ability, which brings his total up to 7.75. I didn't give him any bonuses or deduct any points in the extra, so that leaves his total there. It leaves him in 6th place, which means moving on to 5th place, we have Huni at 8 points. Huni has insane highs that are unmatched by anyone, although I would say Ssumday and Licorice are kind of close. And he has relatively low lows, but I'd still take those lows over unproven tops like Viper, Dhokla, Solo, and Broken Blade, or a top laner more in the downturn like Darshan. Now, he can carry, but he will have to split his attention and resources with Piglet. So for the style fit in clutch gaming, I think it's a pretty good style, because he does have the room to be able to carry with more supportive players like Lyra and Demonte, but he's going to have to find a way to share those resources and focus with Piglet. I think that will be somewhat of a challenge for him, but I think it's still a net positive, so I gave him a half a point. Moving on to versatility, as basically everybody knows, he's not really super versatile. He can play a wide range of champions, but for the most part, he can only play those champions within a team comp where he operates as one of the carries, if not the main carry. So I deducted him a point for that. I didn't deduct him the full 2 points because he still has a lot of different champions he can play, even if they all play the same way. For initiation skills, Huni absolutely prefers to be the cleanup of the team fight, but he definitely can initiate if he's the one forced to do it. Sometimes he goes over aggressive, but that's more in lane than in team fights. So I decided to just give him a net 0 because he can do it, but he's not the best at it. Moving into jungle synergy, the fact that Lyra's a Korean and a player who's at his most successful when he's able to play around his lanes are both boosts to Huni's game and to the jungle synergy. However, Huni probably won't get the same help as he has in past years, as Lyra's not the greatest player and will also be splitting some of his focus bot. So he only gets a minor boost in the jungle. I gave him 0.5 points, but I didn't give him any more than that. However, what I did give him the full points for was his carry ability, because if there's anyone who can carry you, it's Huni. He's carried SKT and Fnatic at the highest levels against the best opponents in the biggest competitions, and it's definitely his best strength as a player, so he gets the full points. However, I did deduct a full point from Huni, as I felt the full extent of Huni's streakiness wasn't represented in his mediocre floor, as if things go wrong or he loses morale, then he can definitely become a significantly worse player. So that leaves his total at 8 points, leaves him solidly near the middle of the list. However, it does not put him past the 4th place player, who's actually the highest of the middle tier players, and the guy who I wrote so much about and almost broke the slide, and that is Broken Blade, who falls at 9.25 points. He's very unproven and unscouted, at least by me, but his reputation for being a solid player, from what we've heard from other players, as well as TSM's history as being very good judges of current ability, puts Broken Blade above the bottom tier of players in his floor. Meanwhile, his montages and young age add to the previously stated reasons to bring his ceiling below only the finest carries in North America, so which are Huni, Ssumday, and Licorice. So I put his floor at 6, his ceiling at 4. For his style fit, TSM could really use an aggressive lane bully style top laner, as they don't really have any aggressive players right now, and that's exactly what it looks like Broken Blade is. As a result, he should really succeed as TSM's top laner. However, there are still too many variables for me to give him the full points. I think he's exactly the type of player TSM needs in that lane to add, or just in the game, to be the main carry that they can play around in the early game, and I think he can definitely do that, but I'm just not, like, I don't know enough about him to give him the full 2 points, but I definitely want to give him the 1.5 points. Moving on to versatility, he seems to prefer carry tops, but people who've played with or against him in Turkey last year supported the idea he can play tanks, keeping in mind that feeling comfortable playing a certain way or playing within a certain comp in the Turkish league is a lot different than feeling comfortable doing it in LCS or at Worlds. I decided it was best to postpone a major judgment here and just give him a 0. As I've already talked about, if you're like playing as tougher opponents, you might be less comfortable playing things that aren't your ideal style, and so it's really hard to know how good he's going to be as a versatile player, so I decided to give him a 0. I didn't deduct any points, but I didn't give him any. For initiation skills, it's also fairly hard to judge with for a guy with no playtime, at least no playtime that I've really watched. But I've seen enough of his game knowledge to feel confident that within the right team, he can definitely be a solid initiator. However, I don't know whether that's TSM or not. Well, we'll just have to wait to find out. So I gave him a 0.5 point for that, but I didn't give him any more than that because, again, I still haven't seen that much. Now, for jungle synergy, he's never played in the same league as Greg, and they both have limited pro experience, but I don't see any reason they wouldn't work well together. Greg should look to play around top more than any other lane in TSM next year, which should lead to a bonus, but he didn't play well with Hauntzer in a similar position last year. That's Greg, not Broken Blade. So I'll leave it at a tentative 0. I think it could definitely be better than that, but just based off what we saw last year from Greg and a lot of unknowns, I decided to just leave the jungle synergy at a 0. However, what I didn't leave it at a 0 was his carry ability, because if there's one thing that we already know about Broken Blade, it's that he should be able to carry games when called upon. He's yet to prove it at a top-level league, or a league beyond the Turkish league, so I can't give him the full marks, but he gets the next best thing, so he gets 0.75 points. And much like Viper, I also gave Broken Blade a 0.5 point bonus for the marks that he should make up once he proves what he's capable of at an LCS level, and all those bonuses bring his total to 9.25, slotting him in at 4th place at the top of the middle tier. Moving into the bottom of the top tier, we see at number 3, the always steady Impact, coming in at 11 points. He was very consistent all of last year. I don't see his peak as high as a lot of other players, but only Ssumday has a higher floor as far as I'm concerned, so I gave him the 2nd highest floor, the 6th highest ceiling for a base score of 7. He has a perfect style fit. That's why he makes the big bucks. That's why TSM signed him. That's why he's on the team. He's there to be a consistent, low-resource top who's good at initiating and supporting for his carries, and that's exactly what he does. So I gave him the full 2 points for style fit. For versatility, he's fairly good at playing his role in most team comps, whether it be initiator, split pusher, or peeler, but he almost always picks a more tanky champion, so I gave him 0.5 points, but I didn't feel comfortable giving him any more than that. For initiation skills, as mentioned earlier, initiation is one of Impact's strengths. He's a smart player who uses his wits in combination with his years of experience to properly utilize most initiation tools at his disposal. So I gave him the full 1.5 points here. I think he's probably the best initiator in North America, and that's one of his main strengths on Team Liquid. So for jungle synergy, he synergized well with Xmithie last year, and they already have a year of experience together. But Xmithie will probably rarely show his face top lane with both Jensen and Doublelift on the team, so only gave him 0.5 points for jungle synergy. For carry ability, if you have to rely on Impact to carry the game for your team, you've probably already made a good share of mistakes. He's a solid player, but he functions more as a supportive force than he does as a carry force. So I deducted a 0.5 point, but he's such a good player that I didn't feel comfortable deducting any more than that. that I didn't really have any bonuses to give him or points to deduct, which left his total at 11. Left him in 3rd place, which is very good. It just doesn't quite beat out 2nd place, which is Licorice at 12.25 points. Licorice was pretty good all of last year. He's not as proven as Ssumday or Impact, and he's yet to carry as hard as Huni, but he's very consistently above average. I have him with the 3rd highest floor, the 3rd highest ceiling, so he's a very good player, and right now he's number 2 on my list. His style fit, I feel like he was a great secondary carry last year with the medium resource, medium to high focus style. He probably won't fit as well this year as last, depending on if Niski can repeat Jensen's success as a hard carry, which I really don't see happening. So I decided to give him a 0 for style fit. Not that it's bad, but it doesn't necessarily look great. And I don't think his style will really boost his ability within the team. For versatility, Licorice has been able to play every meta champion within every type of team comp that's come his way, so I want to give him a very high score, but he's only played a year, so I can't give him the full points, so I decided to give him 1.5 out of a possible 2 points for versatility. He was also a key initiator for Cloud9 last year, especially at Worlds. He never disappointed when it was on his shoulders to start out a fight. It's not his main strength, but I would definitely not underestimate his initiation if you're an opposing player. So I gave him 1 point out of a possible 1.5 there. For jungle synergy, he succeeded with both Blabber and Sven last year, and would benefit from having either as his jungler. Watch out for their top jungle. I think that him having successful, already proven synergy with 2 different top laners that boosted his ability. I gave him the full jungle synergy marks, as I feel like there's almost no way that the jungle top goes bad for Cloud9 next year. Finally, for carry ability, he was never the main carry of Cloud9 last year, but when called upon, he almost always led his team to victory. So I gave him 0.75 out of a possible 1 points for carry ability. However, what I did do is I docked a half a point, as I think he will come under a lot of focus from other teams without Jensen drawing all the attention mid, and it definitely could suppress his abilities a bit. I think with Niski or Golden Glue mid and Sneaky and Zazel bot, that he definitely is going to be one of the main focuses, if not the main focus for teams coming into next year. And so that will hurt his individual performance, so I docked a half a point, leaving his total at 12.25. Very solid showing from Licorice, and he only gets topped by my number 1 top laner coming into next year, and that is none other than Ssumday at 14.75 points. He was very consistent last year. So I gave him the highest floor. His ceiling was also super high. He was only behind Huni when Huni was like killing it near the end of spring and at the start of summer. So I gave him the highest floor, the 2nd highest ceiling for a base score of 9.5. His style of medium to high resource, medium focus, fits even better than it did last year with the new additions. The only thing that I think would make it better is if bot lane was more of a hard carry, because Bang is a very good player. He's not necessarily a carry, and so they don't really have a super hard carry at any position in 100 Thieves, but they definitely have a style that supports Ssumday's success, as was proven last year, so I gave him 1 point of a possible 2. For versatility, Ssumday is an extremely versatile player. He can play almost every champion and play properly within every type of team comp that we've seen come his way, so I gave him the full 2 points. I think it's probably his biggest strength as a player. He's exceptionally versatile. For his initiation skills, he's not usually the one initiating, especially not on a team with Aphromoo, but he definitely can do it when called upon, so I gave him 0.5 out of a possible 1.5 points. For jungle synergy, he's already succeeded with Anda and should benefit from having Anda as his jungler. I think they work well together. They have past experience together, so I didn't give him the full points because I think that he could potentially have a better jungler than Anda to help him out, or a slightly more skilled jungler, but I definitely felt comfortable giving him 1 out of a possible 1.5 points. Finally, he has proven multiple times he can hard carry 100 Thieves out of some bad situations, so while I didn't give him the full Huni level 1 point for carry ability, I did give him 0.75 points for carry ability. I didn't give him any added bonus or deduction. However, I do feel like he possibly benefited from the way that I did my ranking system, but even if I just did it based off intuition and how I would have ranked the top laners, I would have ranked him first by a decent margin anyways, And so in the end, I feel like it was a pretty accurate ranking system. Okay, everybody, thanks for tuning in. I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope you felt my rankings were fair. And I'd be interested in what you thought about it or how your rankings may differ in the comments below. Thanks, guys. See you next time.